Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jonasz Rewiński. At least 9 civilians were killed and more than 80 wounded in Russian strikes across Ukraine over the past 24 hours, according to Ukrainian military officials. Russia launched more than 50 drones overnight Monday, including Iranian-made Shaheds, and fired at least 4 ballistic missiles. In the frontline city of Kharkiv, 1 person was killed and around 40 were wounded, including 3 children, according to the local governor. The attacks hit residential areas, damaging apartment buildings, schools, kindergartens and vehicles. The past 24 hours were also difficult for the Zaporizhia, Donetsk and Sumy regions, where a total of 7 people were killed and over 30 wounded in Russian strikes. Russia has recently escalated its attacks on Ukraine, launching dozens of drones and missiles on the country every day. US President Donald Trump confirmed that Ukraine will continue to receive weapons from the United States to fight Russia, with most of the weapons provided being defensive in nature. His comments come after Ukraine requested more Patriot systems and missiles to defend itself from an increasing number of Russian airstrikes. Although Trump did not mention Patriots specifically, he did say last week that Kyiv would need them to effectively defend itself.
On Ukraine, Mr. President, are you planning to send more weapons to Ukraine?
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons primarily, but they're getting hit very, very hard. Very sad. So many people are dying in that mess.
Dozens of civilians and soldiers have been killed in recent weeks during heavy Russian airstrikes on Ukrainian cities. One of the victims was a skilled F-16 fighter jet pilot, Maxim Ustimenko, who died during his mission. A deputy commander in the Ukrainian Air Force has now said that without more air defense systems, Kyiv will have to use risky tactics more often on the battlefield, which could result in significant losses among both the military and civilian population. Warnings like these from Ukrainian commanders come just days after the Pentagon said it would pause some arms deliveries that Ukraine critically need to protect its cities.
All must understand that there is no such thing as enough weapons. Therefore, if we cannot use the missiles because we do not get them, then it will be very difficult. A flight to perform a military task is a risk itself, while firing a cannon is a triple risk. But we take into consideration other things too. If we do not shoot down a Shahed drone and it falls on a settlement, on a building and people die, what should we choose? Of course, we choose to destroy air targets despite how difficult and risky it is. We think of all scenarios to secure safety while using cannons. Maxim was the one to develop instructions on how to use a cannon, but on that particular day the situation in the air was extremely difficult. In the airspace there were a lot of Shahed drones. Part of Ukraine on the left side of the Dnipro River was full of them, and it was very difficult to fully monitor the situation in the air.
The Ukrainian people need clarity on Washington's military aid deliveries to Kyiv, said Ukrainian MP Kira Rudik in a recent interview with TVP World. US Special Envoy to Ukraine Keith Kellogg is expected to meet with Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov this week in Rome to further discuss the deliveries which, according to President Donald Trump, are about to resume.
The truth is, we do not know what President Trump meant when he said that he will increase the weapons. Does he mean that he will just make sure that everything promised under Biden will be delivered to Ukraine? Did he say that he will continue providing weapons at the same amount? There would be weapons that Ukraine will have to pay for, or would be actually increased amount? This is unclear right now. So we hope that when President Zelensky meets with Keith Kellogg, we will get more information on that.
While in Washington, D.C., Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he has nominated Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. The US president said he was not expecting the gesture and added it is very meaningful, particularly because it is coming from Netanyahu.
The president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor.
In an exclusive interview for TVP World, Professor Heinz Gärtner of the University of Vienna analyzed the meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump. He discussed Netanyahu's position on the potential use of military force against Iran and the contrasting views on the ceasefire. And we'll be coming back to this story in just a moment. First, however, we've got live images from Warsaw, where Moldovan President Maia Sandu is visiting. And during her stay, Sandu is set to meet her Polish counterpart, President Andrzej Duda. Now, on Wednesday morning, Sandu paid a visit to the Pulaski Foundation. Right now we can see the Polish president actually making a speech, so they are already meeting at the presidential palace. So basically what is going to happen during this visit is that Maia Sandu is first paying a visit to the leading Polish think tank, the Pulaski Foundation, that specializes in foreign policy and international security. The focus of that particular visit will later on be the discussion of Moldova's path towards the European Union membership, which also includes the challenges posed by the current political situation and Russia's hybrid threats to the country. During her stay in Poland, Sandu met with the Polish President Andrzej Duda at the presidential palace. In fact, this meeting is now ongoing, and later on she is also set to meet Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk at his office. And now we're coming back to the story we have been referring to just a moment ago. In an exclusive interview for TVP World, Professor Heinz Gärtner of the University of Vienna performed an analysis of the meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Donald Trump. He discussed Netanyahu's position on the potential use of military force against Iran and the contrasting views on the ceasefire.
President Trump and his special envoy Witkoff announced that there will be a meeting probably next week with Iran to negotiate an agreement. Prime Minister Netanyahu said he doesn't want to, but he might have to bomb Iran again. So in this private meetings, Prime Minister Netanyahu might want to get green lights for further bombing Iran from President Trump. So the second issue, the ceasefire, of course, President Trump wants to end the war. He's not happy with the war. He announced he wants to get out of the war. It's already during his election campaign. But Prime Minister Netanyahu said in the meeting, Israel will keep the security observation and security control forever. That means there will be Israeli soldiers position deployed in Israel, and he sees the ceasefire temporary, and President Trump might see it permanent because he wants to end the war.
Let's not fool ourselves into thinking that Moldova or other countries in this particular corner of Europe are not also on Russia's menu. These are the words of Velina Chakarova, founder of the FACE geopolitical consultancy. In an exclusive interview for TVP World, she explains how Russia's ambitions go beyond the war in Ukraine. Moldova's President Maia Sandu is visiting Warsaw today, holding talks with Poland's President Andrzej Duda, as well as Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk, with the main topic of these talks being European integration of Moldova.
Let's not fool ourselves to think that Moldova or other countries in this particular corner of Europe, countries like Georgia, for example, are also not on Russia's menu. Now, the current agenda of Russia is more about the hybrid forms of warfare, the non-kinetic part of warfare, starting with energy security, with the looming energy shortfalls due to Gazprom's transit reduction.
On Tuesday, the Polish finance minister will travel to Belgium to meet NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte to discuss defense spending. The Polish minister will also hold additional talks at the NATO headquarters this afternoon. Travelling today to Brussels, Polish Finance Minister Andrzej Duda will be one of the attendees at talks about defence set to be held at the NATO headquarters. The meeting aims to reaffirm an agreement about hiking member states' defence spending to 5% of GDP annually by 2035. NATO allies decided that the 5% threshold would cover two of the basic categories of defence investment. This increase in spending was partially motivated by what the alliance sees as long-term threats to Euro-Atlantic security, such as Russia. Intense storms are rolling through Poland. 4 people have already been reported injured in the subcarpathian region of the country.
On Monday, in the southeastern Polish region, local firefighter brigades were forced to intervene close to 1,200 times. The storms pose a threat as they are powerful enough to knock down trees that can damage power lines, roof structures, and block roads. The risk of flooding is also increased due to the intensified rainfall. One of the injured people was admitted to a hospital after a tree fell on the roof of their home, causing the person to suffer a head injury. Another one was electrocuted after a tree fell onto power lines. These storms are currently battering the central and eastern region of Europe. Slovakian authorities have called a state of emergency due to the bad weather.
And with this developing story on adverse weather in Poland and the region, we conclude this news bulletin. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.